All right, YouTube, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. All right, so Joey Gatewood just hit the transfer portal, dual threat quarterback. A lot of folks compared him to Cam Newton. If you think about Cam Newton and Nick Marshall, those seem to be the standard as to what I'm not going to say all Auburn fans, but a lot of subcultures of Auburn fans, that they feel like a quarterback is going to come to the table with the intangibles or the tangibles that Cam Newton and Nick Marshall brought to the table. They are all in, and no matter what the coaches observe, they feel like that quarterback ought to be starting. That's something that they saw in Joey Gatewood. That's something that they saw in Kyle Frazier, in Woody Barrett, JF3, any type of quarterback that, or even Jeremy Johnson. I didn't even see that in Jeremy Johnson's film, but any quarterback that can get you back into that euphoric state of being an Auburn fan. We remember how great it was in 2010. That was a magical season. A magical season full of heroics, full of a lot of great things happening. Auburn wins the national championship in 2010. So anything that Auburn folks feel that can get them back to that level of relevancy and that level of achievement, if you got a quarterback like Cam Newton, that's what you're looking for. And sometimes I think a lot of folks don't realize that you got to assess the talents of these quarterbacks before making a judgment. Just because they can kind of run the football a little bit, or they're seen running over people in high school, that's going to automatically translate into another Cam Newton type player. That's not always the case. And that's why Auburn fans at times constantly set themselves up for disappointment when these players don't pan out, or when another quarterback who is struggling, Bo Nix is absolutely struggling, but when that quarterback is not a Cam Newton, or if we had a quarterback that could run the ball, maybe the offense could go better. Maybe that's true. But most of the reason why I feel that we say those things is because the highest level of success for the Auburn Tigers can be traced back to quarterbacks like Cam Newton and Nick Marshall. Subconsciously. And we can argue this thing, we can deny it, but that is probably the truth. Because whenever you hear about why Joey Gatewood should have been given a shot, is his ability to mimic somewhat of a Cam Newton. And the reason why we wanted a guy like, say, Malik Miller is because he reminded us of, or we thought he could be, a Nick Marshall. And as it turns out, whether he would have been or not, we'll never know. Because Gus Malzahn, even though he chose that type of quarterback in the past, when it came to Malik Willis, he didn't think Malik Willis could lead the team. Now, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, but I am saying that one of the reasons that we are so bent on the Joey Gatewoods, the Woody Barretts, and the JF3s of the world is because we want that back. We want that magic back. We want that Cam Newton, Nick Marshall magic back. We want to have that same level of relevancy that we had in 2010 and 2013. But we have to realize as Auburn fans that you may never have that type of talent come to Auburn again. Where else have you seen that kind of talent? Even Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields are probably not on the same level as a Cam Newton. And even with Cam Newton, would he have been able to duplicate that in season 2? I don't think so, actually, because teams started to actually figure Cam Newton out as the season progressed. Those staggering numbers that you had for most of the season, you didn't see that down the stretch. Not really. Especially not against Alabama and Oregon in the national championship game. So I think we have to take the blinders off at a certain point and understand that Auburn is not going to be successful per se, again, because of a Cam Newton or a Nick Marshall type. And once we realize those things, it'll be a little bit somewhat easier to objectively analyze the quarterback choices. I'm not saying that I'm not Nick Marshall, but I'm not saying that Bo Nix is necessarily better than Joey Gatewood. Joey Gatewood seemed to be a physical player, seemed to have the ability to run, maybe throw the ball a little bit. But the reality of it is, whatever was presented in practice with everyone involved, Bo Nix was the guy. He doesn't always show it on the field, but that's the guy. And if we think that just because a person seems to possess, just because the players around, those players didn't play with Cam Newton. They don't know what type of player Cam Newton was. They don't know what type of leader Cam Newton was. Because Cam Newton willed a lot of guys that were around him that weren't on the same level talent-wise as he was. He took a team that probably should have went about 7-5 to a national championship. But now Auburn has the talent set to where they don't have to do that no more. They could have a quarterback that can run a little bit, but you have enough skill player around you to still get the job done without having to have those unreasonable type of heroics from, say, a Cam Newton or a Nick Marshall. And I think that's where a lot of fans get themselves disappointed, and they get mad with Gus Malzahn. They get mad with the decision making. They say maybe ludicrous justifications as to why Bo Nix is the starter. I mean, it could be. He could be the starter because of his dad. I don't see the logic in it. Honestly, Patrick Nix wasn't necessarily a Pat Sullivan. He wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner. So with that in mind, I think we still have that love affair. We have that love affair with Nick Marshall and Cam Newton, and that's why we think about certain things, especially that quarterback position is a real sensitive part for the Auburn Tigers because of the success of Cam Newton and Nick Marshall. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football, go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.